Hey, thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to talk about the Nazarite Vow, also known as the Vow of Nazir. The Nazarite Vow is probably most well known in association with the Samson story of the book of Judges. Samson, of course, had long hair, and this is the predominant thing that we learn about the Nazarite Vow through this story, and apparently in the story, he had powers that were associated with his long hair. I don't know about all of that, but the Nazarite vow is an interesting element of the Torah. It's kind of a unique one, and we don't really see anything else like it in the commandments. But what is the Nazarite vow? What is the vow of Nazir? Nazir can actually be translated. It's not just an arbitrary name. It actually holds meaning to it. And the word Nazir is effectively sequestration. It means separation or consecration. So a person that is taking this vow is taking a vow of separating themselves to Yahuwah. And they are separating themselves from 4 categories of things. The first category we have already alluded to, and that is the cutting of the hair. A person is not supposed to cause a razor to pass over the hair of their head in the case that they have taken the Nazarite vow. And it says that they are supposed to have their loosening of their hair grow long or greaten. Now, I had heard rumors in the past about supposedly Nazarites would burn their hair in order to keep it short and somehow circumvent the issue of cutting it. But since the command says that their loosening of their hair is supposed to greaten and grow long, I'm pretty sure that would not be allowed. So the hair is supposed to grow long, the hair on their head, and they are not supposed to cause a razor to pass over it. They are sequestering themselves from cutting their hair. The second thing that they are sequestering themselves from is grapes and all grape products. This is kind of an interesting way that it describes it in the text, in that it says all processing of grapes is forbidden, and it goes on to list quite a variety of different things. It gives us quite a vocabulary for referring to grapes. So some of the things that are forbidden, for example, are fresh moist grapes, dried grapes, the grape seed, grapes that have been pressed, and also wine, vinegar, and juice produced from grapes. All of these things are supposed to be separated from. A person is separating themselves from grapes and grape products. The third category of things the person is sequestering themselves from is alcohol and vinegar produced from alcohol. The key word here in the Hebrew is shakar, and I could see someone arguing that shakar refers to some kind of grape product, some other kind of alcohol that's not wine in the normal sense of the term. But I think it probably does refer to other alcoholic beverages other than wine. And part of the reason for this is because of its use in other languages, cognates in other languages. It was transliterated into Greek and used as a word to refer to barley wine, for example. And a derivative form of it also refers to cider. So shakar probably means some type of alcohol other than wine. And he is also not allowed to consume any vinegar that is being produced from shakar. And by the way, as far as I understand it, most vinegar that is made today and sold for food consumption is produced from grain alcohol, by the way. And the fourth thing the person is sequestering themselves from is being in the presence of the dead. So a dead body, it doesn't matter if it is a close relative or not, he is not allowed to come near it. He is to separate himself from the dead. Now, even if one is being diligent about making sure that they're separating themselves from these four categories of things, some accident could take place and some situation could occur where a person suddenly dies in their presence and then they become defiled as a result. So in that case, their vow is broken. Say they had chosen to take the vow for a year, just for example, and say at the 6-month point, someone died suddenly in their presence, and then they became defiled as a result. In that case, they must renew the vow for the entire original time they set up. So for that entire year, for example, they must do another year, because the time of their vow was defiled, and all of the days that they had fulfilled don't count anymore at that point. They has to completely redo it. And there is a ritual that must be performed in order to reinstate the vow, in order to purify oneself from that defilement and to continue the vow. And the ritual involves a cleansing period, and on the 7th day, he is supposed to cut his hair, and then afterward, he is supposed to go to the tent of meeting and offer 2 birds. They are to be offered to an assent offering and to a wrongdoing offering. And it's kind of interesting because this is very similar to an offering that is being performed in Leviticus 15 for cleansing from a flow, whether it be a flow of blood or a flow otherwise. There is that same offering being performed in a very similar way. However, there is an additional animal that's being offered in the case of the vow of Nazir being reinstated, and that is the lamb to a guilt offering. It's supposed to be a yearling male lamb that is offered as a guilt offering, in addition to the 2 clean birds, the 2 turtle doves or the 2 sons of dove. So after the Nazarite has completed the days that he has chosen to take upon himself for the vow, after that is completed, there is a fairly complex ritual that he then goes through. He offers a yearling male lamb, a yearling female lamb, a ram, and then he also offers the associated libations, drink offerings, and the associated tribute offerings as well, which are offerings of flour and oil. And he also offers 2 types of unleavened bread in addition to this. And another factor in this offering, this ritual, is he cuts his hair and they burn the hair under the altar. And at the completion of the ritual, he may return to those things which he was sequestering himself from. Now, it doesn't actually say what the exact purpose of this vow is, other than in the use of its name. It is a vow of sequestration. It is a vow of consecration to Yahuwah. Now, I want to address, I've heard people suggest taking the vow now. Part of the vow, in my view, is what you're supposed to do in the case that the vow becomes defiled, or the person taking the vow becomes defiled. What are you supposed to do in response to that? And this is part of the commandment. Part of the commandment of the vow is that you need to go to the tent of meeting and perform these rituals. Well, right now, the tent of meeting is not around, and the priesthood is not acting at the tent of meeting either, for that matter. So, in my view, that kind of presents a problem with taking the vow now. And in addition to this, I want to suggest that in regard to any vow, that we be kind of careful and kind of cautious about getting into making that type of decision. Obviously, it's a serious decision, and our thinking might change over time. So it might seem like a really good idea at some point, and then later on we might change our mind about it. So since it's such a serious commitment, make sure that any vow that at some point you may decide to enter into, that it's done in a very specific way. You figure out exactly what you're going to do if you decide you're going to do such a thing, and really think about the long-term situation, not just the seeming like a really good idea in the moment. And that goes for any vow, not just the vow of Nazir, but that is just my opinion. So the vow of Nazir It is a vow of sequestration, a vow of consecration to Yahuwah. And the person is separating themselves from 4 categories of things. From cutting their hair, from grapes and grape products, from alcohol and alcohol vinegar, and also from being in the presence of the dead. Thanks for watching. Be sure that you check out some of my other videos on other Torah issues, and feel free to stay in touch so we can continue this discussion. Thanks for watching. Remember the commands. Shalom.